We live here. Hey everyone. Sorry for that. Still getting used to the whole live thing on YouTube, but that's all right. Welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. Obviously, I am Sean, and we are here to do the reaction to our FA Cup semifinal match against Coventry City. Apologies for being a little later than I said. Obviously, I wanted to be here after the match. I totally forgot that I was also planning to get together with some friends to watch the Classico today. So I just got back from that. And before I even went to the restroom, I'm stopping and, sharing my thoughts with you guys and getting this video going and hopefully, inviting you guys into the chat and getting your thoughts. We'll probably do a little bit of a news roundup later on today as well after I do come to my thoughts on the match. But let's dive right in with the reaction, and then tomorrow, like usual, we will do our three major points sticking out of that match. So before we do get started, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new, and don't forget to go check us out on Twitter, MUFC versus everybody. And let's get stuck in, shall we? So obviously, going into the match, I know I predicted a win. I thought we would make a hard go of it, and we did. But, we had a lot of talking points going into this match. Obviously, United have not been in the best of form. Coventry are not doing as well as they did last season, obviously. So it could have gone either way. On paper, it's one of those things where everyone is saying all week long, well, you should be Coventry. Doesn't matter how many injuries you have. Doesn't matter this. Doesn't matter that. I thought, going into this that we would have more players than that. Obviously, we lost quite a few players to injury between today and when I did my preview a few days ago. So no Campbell, right? No Mount. And it was a big deal. So knowing that, it was anyone's guess how we were going to line up today. Obviously, Ten Hag decided to put Casemiro in at center back. Apparently, he's been training there this week in that position. It's a needs-must situation. And so, yeah, people will say, well, you should still be Coventry. It's only Coventry. Like one fit center back in an FA Cup semifinal. I don't care who it is that you're playing. I don't care who you are as a club. That's hard for any club to get over. Take City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Real Madrid, PSG. One fit center back. I'd like to see what any of these big clubs do, right? How confident their fans are going into the match. How stable they look in their back line. It is what it is. We've had the worst luck this season when it comes to injuries, especially injuries to our defense. And people will sit there and call out the injuries, but when Ten Hag, when your manager whose style of play starts from the back, starts from the keeper, starts from your defense, when you're playing out from the back, losing those defenders is a big blow. Now, again, like I've said in other videos, when we don't have fit players in those key positions for Ten Hag's system, we need to not try so hard to play that system. Try not to shoehorn players like Maguire or Casemiro in defense into that playing out from the back style, because it does not work and it leaves us vulnerable. It causes problems. So that being said, I don't think Casemiro did a whole lot wrong today for it being, not his natural position, especially. Can anyone think of something he put wrong today? I mean, he got a 7.9 rating on FootMob. He completed the most passes, almost 100 passes. He had 89%. He created 3 chances, 1 big chance. Not bad, honestly. He won 75% of his tackle, made blocks, clearances, headed clearances, recoveries, interceptions. Only dribbled past once, and won 80% of his ground duels, 4 out of 5. That's not bad for someone who just had to fill. I'm not going to sit here and say, Casemiro at center back, could he be converted? No, I'm not going that far. This is Coventry. This was a one-off while we have some injuries. It is what it is. He did his job. I will say I was surprised when I saw the lineup that it wasn't Casemiro at center back. I mean, McTominay at center back, because he's played there for Scotland, right? And he's done well there for Scotland. I do think that when Casemiro is the furthest man back at, playing in that back line, it does make me feel a little more confident than when he's in the middle and someone's running at him, like on a counterattack or something. I feel like he's too easily passed by. Either he's just passed by because he's trying to catch up to a fast player, or he goes in to challenge and he just gives away a foul. So I think having be there when the player with the ball doesn't have as much space to run, and he can actually, like, he does better against sides who play a little bit more intricate passing because you can read those passes and kind of sniff them out. Against the counter, he's kind of rubbish in some regards. So it was surprising. I'm not totally surprised with the rest of the team, if I'm honest. We said it was probably going to be the same: Rashford, Bruno, Garnacho, Højlund, and Mainu. We're not surprised there. McTominay, I thought, did well. He did really well for his goal. We'll get into the goals in a second here because we did well to score them, but then we kind of switched off a bit. So other than that, I don't really think there was too much going on. We didn't really have a good performance on the ball, I want to say. Let me look at the passing stats. So we did have more possession, and we made 714 accurate passes. We're moving the ball. It's just, you can tell we were being a little patient, which I don't have a problem with, especially with the injuries. People will say it's Coventry, you shouldn't be doing that, but it is what it is. It's clear we were playing a little more patient, trying to wait for the chances to come rather than try to force it. And a lot of the passes were back and forth, side to side, that horseshoe pattern, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I'm glad that we've learned how to do it. We've shown we can do it. I think that there were many other opportunities to play this more patient approach throughout the season, especially when we're trying to hold out and defend a lead late in the game. We could have easily seen a lot more points on the table for us had we been able to do this more frequently, but it is what it is. It's better late than never, but right now it could be too little too late. So whatever cliche about being late you want to throw in there, let's just toss it in, because honestly, what is left to play for now besides the FA Cup final, which, again, second consecutive trip to Wembley for the FA Cup final for Ten Hag. So his first season, obviously, we went to the Carabao Cup final and won, FA Cup final and lost, and now we're going back to Wembley again. Women's team are also in their FA Cup final too. So as far as that competition goes for United, it's doing well. I don't really fancy us against City in the final, but we'll see. It's a one-off. It's a cup game. Anything can happen. It's kind of like Champions League. Anything can happen. Kind of a lot of things go out the window in these one-off finals. So we'll see if Ten Hag can improve upon the Carabao Cup last year. If he can learn from not only last season's mistakes but also this season's mistakes. We'll see who's fit for the final, right? And then try to give it a go. Try to just go out there and do our best. And it's all you can ask. I think that we haven't even been asking for the best from some of these players. We've been asking for, in my opinion, the bare minimum from a lot of these players. Now, to be fair, a lot of players do work hard, and it is a thankless job in some regards. Some of these positions, like the striker position or the keeper position, the second half of the season has been a bit thankless. Some players don't look up to it, and we will get to that in a little bit as we talk more about the match, because I have some thoughts on a key player from Brazil whose last name starts with a C and ends in an O, and in the middle is Asamir. We'll get there. So as far as some more stats here, we had 28 shots to Coventry's 18, and they only had 5 shots on target. We had 6 on target. So we're putting more shots off today, which was nice to see. Maybe Coventry is our level. I mean, maybe not, though, because we were up 3-0 and then until the 70th minute, and then we conceded 3 goals in a matter of not even 20 minutes-ish, which is not great. And what did I say about extra time goals was that pen we gave away in the 90 plus, 5 minutes that Haji Wright put away. I mean, what is Wan-Bissaka doing with his arms? People will say it's too close. I mean, he came in with his arms basically like this. The ball is put in, and then he starts lowering them. Like, what are you doing? It's disgraceful, the defending. That's 2 pens that he's given away in the last few weeks, and I'm starting to wonder a little bit about just his mentality, his match IQ in these moments. These are silly mistakes. We know there's VAR. We know you've already given one away recently. Let's just put the hands down. It's not hard to do. So obviously McTominay did well. I would have, given what we've seen from McTominay, especially the goal he scored, kind of that late run at the back post, I think you can almost make an argument to kind of put him almost in that second striker, even you could call it a number 10, basically where Bruno has been playing. And I would almost maybe be willing to drop Bruno back a little further and play him in the pivot so he can play make a little bit. He drops back deep anyway a lot to pick up the ball, especially later on in a match. So I don't see it being too far of a stretch from where he's tended to be. Plus, McTominay is, again, good at making those runs, good at kind of causing chaos in the box a little bit. And it's a position where McTominay doesn't really have to dribble, to try to find a pass. He can take a ball, he can control the ball, use his height, his strength, his size to hold up play if he needs to. He's decent with a link up if he needs to. Plus, he can make these runs. He can get on the end of a cross. He can cause problems. That's the opposition area is where McTominay, I think, is the most dangerous. Just on the edge of the box, in the box. I mean, so maybe allow those two, him and Bruno, to kind of switch up a little bit, or just maybe switch them up in position as well. So, and then obviously we scored from a corner. What? At United? Yeah, we scored off a corner. And guess who it was? Slab it himself, Harry Maguire, getting on the end of that corner and putting it home. And good placement too. Well taken header, put it far out of keeps reach. And honestly, good for him. You know, we've talked about, and I honestly do feel he's not a bad defender, Harry Maguire. He just doesn't quite suit the system, and the system does make him look worse than he actually is. But after so many set pieces, so many corners of him getting on the end of something and putting it wide or putting it right at the keeper, to see him score was good. That was good. We needed that. He needed that. You'd think that going 2-0 up in 45th minute, it's almost game over. And then we come out second half, and about 20 minutes in, ball's bouncing around, and Bruno gets on the end of it and just lashes it, and game's out of sight, right? 3-0, 58th minute, half hour left. They're not scoring 3, right? I mean, meanwhile, Manchester United, they hold my beer, right? Let's just go full Manchester United on this. We give away several stupid goals. And, I mean, what else can you do? They score in the 71st. They score again in the 79th. And then we give away that pen in extra time. And what should have been a clear, done and dusted 3-0 result turned into 3-3. Almost 4-3. And I'm not trying to flex and brag. I did see that fourth goal that Coventry scored was offside in real time. It looked offside, and you can say, oh, there's no way you could tell that. It was barely, it looked offside. You could tell it was a little offside. And this is the thing when you get attackers who are trying to, they tend to lean forward because that's how your body tends to run. You don't run like this, you run like this. Oftentimes it's going to be offside. So I don't know why VAR had to look at it so long, but we got off scot-free. And there's a reason my thumbnail says we got lucky. We got lucky. So we go into the extra time, and nothing really happening. We're not really doing as much. It's a bit frustrating. There's some of the players, especially Højlund, just not making the best decisions in the final third. There's many opportunities where he'd receive the ball in a central position, be running, and instead of maybe feeding it to the right-sided winger who was open, the ball was on, he would try to feed it a little more intricately, and it would get cut out. And it's those kind of things that get a little frustrating to watch. Just that decision-making in the final third. He's young, I get it, but get your head up a little bit, see what's around you, and play that ball. And so I think we had opportunities to put this game away. I think we switched off definitely later on in the match, at least in regular time for sure, to allow them to come back and score 3. The pens, though, is where it gets interesting. So I don't know why Casemiro took the first pen. I probably would have let Maguire take that first pen. He looked confident. I mean, you remember that run he made all the way to the byline by himself? You know, got it all the way in, beat a couple of guys, got all the way to the byline, and put a ball back into the box. I mean, Maguire was a man of confidence today. And you could see it. And I would have given him that first pen because, and there are people, shout out to Loaded Dice, shout out to Detroit Red Devils supporters group. There were people there who, as we were all watching the game, I shouted out when Casemiro stepped up and the camera zoomed in on Cas. I said, look at his face. He's going to miss this penalty. He does not want to take this pen. And sure enough, what happened? It was a weak pen, weaker than the one Bernardo Silva we saw in midweek, way weaker. He did not look confident. He didn't look interested. He didn't look like he wanted to take it at all. Look at his face. Rewind it and look at Casemiro's face when they show a close-up on him when he's going to take that pen. This is a guy who is halfway gone already out of United. He doesn't want to be here. You can tell. And so, of course, what happens is we miss it. Now, this is where my Nostradamus powers come into play. So I forget who it was who missed. I forget the guy's name who missed Coventry's first penalty. Let me look it up here for a second. O'Hare, right? He scored their second goal, but when he stepped up to take that pen, again, you got to look at their face when they're taking these pens. Did not look confident, did not look sure of himself, did not look like he had a plan of where he wanted to put this. And what happened? Onana saved it. Fast forward to the next guy who took their next pen, the next guy who missed. Forget what his name was now. But he missed it, right? And that's Sheaf. Yeah. Again, look at the guy's face. Sheaf. Skies it, John Terry settings. Pens, people will think that pens are a lottery. It's a dice roll. You don't know what's going to happen. It's not. So I know I talked a little bit about Ben Littleton, that book Edge. Again, 12 yards. The art and psychology of the perfect penalty kick. Read this book. Penalties, especially shootouts, they're not a dice roll. They're not a lottery. There's a lot of statistics, a lot of studies, a lot of correlation between a lot of different factors that have a connection to results. The likelihood of someone missing, the likelihood of someone making it. Even just the way your teammates react if you miss as you're walking back to the center circle has a lot to do with the success or failure rate of the next kick to be taken from your team. First things first, though, you look at the player's face. Coventry did not look ready for this. And again, look at Casemiro's face. He did not look ready. Did we deserve to win this match? No. Did I say on my last video, my preview, that we were going to make hard work of it? Yeah, and we did. And we honestly are lucky. We probably don't deserve it. We probably just stole that one a little bit. And it is what it is. We're into Wembley again. We are into another FA Cup final. That's 3 finals in Ten Hag's first 3 seasons. I don't think that you can ignore that. You cannot ignore that. Compare that to the first 2 seasons of any other Premier League manager right now, whether it's Arteta, Klopp, Pep. What did they do in their first 2 seasons? How many finals did they get? How many trophies did they get? That's a big deal. Trophies are the currency of managers, right? Winning trophies. And so I think amidst all our injuries to get to the FA Cup final and still have a chance of getting European football. Obviously, we're not going to get Champions League. That's out of reach. But still have a chance to get European football amidst the injury crisis that we've had and some of the other headaches that we talked about in another video. Go ahead and watch that one too if you get a chance. I think it's a big deal. Do I think that Ten Hag is the best manager in the world? No. Do I think that he has done a lot with what he's had to work with and what he's had to deal with? Yeah. And do I think that last season he deserves a bit of grace this season? Yes. Do I think that if he gets the FA Cup trophy, if we win that and we somehow get to Europe, that people maybe need to quiet down a little bit and let him see out the final year and see how it goes? Yeah, I do. If all that happens, and again, I can see if he's sacked, I can see it. I can see why. It is what it is. But I also think that there's a chance that he deserves a little bit more time under a new structure where he's not having to do as much as he had to do in terms of recruitment and talent identification. I mean, keep in mind, we don't only have a fitness coach. Our medical staff is not fit for purpose. And we're trying to get in all these new, behind the scenes recruitment structure team in place. Imagine what a guy who took Ajax to their first semifinal in how many years could do. Imagine what a guy who took Ajax to his first league title in how many years? Almost 4 leagues. He would have had 4 back-to-back Eredivisie had they not canceled that one season for COVID. Imagine what a guy like that can do with the way that Ajax side were playing, not only in their league, but in Europe as well. Imagine what he can do with some of these bluffers at United getting shown the door, including maybe Rashford. I spoke to some people today, some big diehard United fans who their instant reaction was like, no, I'd sell Rashford in a heartbeat. I mean, that's a lot of profit if we sell Rashford. Do I want Rashford sold? No, I want Rashford to get better. Do I think Rashford's world class? No. But everybody we sell needs to be replaced. You can't sell McTominay without replacing him with another squad player, midfielder who is better than McTominay, but still, like, everyone's got to get replaced. With that in mind, we have priority positions that I'd like us to see filled. So anybody we sell, yes, could be profit, but they also need to be replaced. And so it's a very fine line to navigate. But that is why guys like Morata, Ashworth, Wilcox, that's why these guys are there, hopefully to get that done. We'll touch upon some of those updates a little later, but we're assembling a team that's going to be more important for the long run than any 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 players and any one manager can make a difference with. So it's good. Other reactions to the match. I mean, Ten Hag was clearly not happy. It's frustrating when we need to keep the ball controlled. We need to be smart, patient, and composed in our passing and take control of the ball. When the ball comes to Rashford or Bruno and they want to play this 1-2 over the top, and we just keep giving it away. We keep trying to put these low percentage lobbed passes, and it's just not working. Keep the ball on the ground, move. There was a play where Højlund got the ball and nobody's moving. Somebody passes him the ball and then they all stand there while he's trying to carry it, and he's got nobody. No one's doing anything. If you remember Donny when he was here, the same way Ajax play, pass the ball and move to get into a better position to receive a pass. Nobody does that. They just pass it, and it's like either they're waiting for the ball back at the same spot, or they just don't know what they're doing. But there's a disconnect there. Whether that's the players don't know how to do it, they're not willing to do it, or Ten Hag's not instructing them, which I doubt. But it's just those little things are breaking the play down. And too often today we were taking one too many touches in the final third. We were holding on to the ball. We had an opportunity to play someone in with a simple pass, and it's like there's no confidence. It's like they're afraid to try to take a risky pass and take responsibility for that moment. And so the ball gets passed back, which is, stat padding our pass completion, but it's not helping. We slow everything down. Coventry were clearly happy to play with a low block and try to hit us on the break. And we were just allowing them to do that by taking just too long on the ball and passing it back when we could have had an opportunity. And so it's those little things, those kind of game management. You can tell Ten Hag was frustrated. He did not look happy on the touchline. And I mean, I understand why. He expects a lot from his players. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Whether the players aren't listening or they don't know how, it's up for debate. But he needs better. We need better. The players need to do better. He needs to be better with his tactics at times as well. But we'll see. Shout out to Amari Forson getting some minutes. He came on and looked pretty good, right? He was playing a lot. He was getting into good positions. He was playing good link up. He got a couple shots off as well. I liked what I saw. He's a lot better than the last match we saw him in, and he wasn't like awful. He just, it was good for the youngster. We had a lot of youngsters on the bench today. So with all the injuries, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 academy players on the bench today. Amas, Forson, Ogonier, Jackson, and Wheatley were all on the bench just with our injuries. And so it'd be nice to see them play a little bit more frequently. We've got the match against Sheffield United on a Wednesday. Maybe we'll get to see some of them as well with some of these injuries. I know Rashford looked like he got taken off as a precaution, maybe because he picked up something, but we'll see. I liked what I saw. So I think that the result flattered us. We did look like marginally the better side for the majority of the match. We just switched off. I don't know if we just thought the match was won already. It just seemed like we couldn't get things going. We couldn't. Every time we lost the ball, Coventry were just getting into our area again and getting an attack off. And we're making some silly mistakes at the back as well at times. And so Onana, though, how about that save from Onana off that volley? I forget who hit that volley. Was that Sims? He'll never hit that volley like that ever again. But that save from Onana, that was a thing of beauty. So Onana needs a little bit more praise for what he's been doing the second half of the season, in my opinion. He's been saving us a lot. How many saves did Onana have today anyway? Let's take a look. So he made 2 saves, and he was playing a lot of accurate passes too. Diving save, So he only had, how many shots did he face, huh? So his XG for goals on target face was 2.3. We did concede 3. I mean, it is what it is. I think that the deflected goal was, you could say, okay, should have done better, but deflected goals happen all the time. Bruno's goal was a deflection, and we're going to blame the keeper for that as well. I mean, what can you do? I do think that we got lucky, like I said, but we're into Wembley again. I don't think that if we play anywhere near like that against City again, we're gonna, it's. I don't see us lifting the cup if we play like we've been playing. If I think Casemiro needs to be benched if other people are fit. I don't like what I'm seeing from Casemiro since he's come back from injury. I don't know if he's still pissed off because of everything that happened with the injury, but he just doesn't look like he wants to be here. Rashford's body language is not great. Garnacho obviously not happy to be taken off. I know he wanted to score, but we need, fit players. And, at that point, it wasn't a big deal to take him off. We'll see what happens. I know Maguire today, he was being interviewed after the match. He didn't train, but he said he'll give it all. He'll give his all for this club. And, he didn't train because he picked up a knock against Bournemouth, and he put in a solid display today. I can't fault him for anything. He put in a very good performance today. And so hopefully we can keep everyone fit. I don't want to see any more injuries picked up. We've only got a couple days until Sheffield United, and then we've got another match on Saturday against Burnley. There are 2 matches that we should be winning, but you just never know. There's a lot of matches we should be winning this season that we're not winning. So what are you going to do? We'll take another look at the Sheffield United match in a day or so just to kind of preview that as well. But for now, suffice it to say, we got the job done. Sir Jim and his team were there. Wilcox was in the stand. We saw the Glazers were there. I think I saw Ed Woodward pictured outside of Wembley earlier today. So you can't. I mean, I'm sure the Glazers were there because they didn't want to get shown up by Sir Jim. I'm sure they couldn't even tell which team was United just because they don't even know. So we'll see. It'd be nice to see the back of them in a couple of years. So let me know your thoughts on the semifinal. Who stood out to you for United? I know Bruno got man of the match. I know Højlund, bless him, he was trying to make something happen. I think I saw he got the fewest touches out of any outfield player to play the full time. I mean, he tries, he just doesn't get the ball. Rashford's running into defenders. Nobody's finding him on the pass. It's just not happening. So it doesn't help that Coventry were able to drop back into their shape so easily. But we need to do better at getting Højlund the ball. Hopefully we can see that improve a little bit. It was good to see him get in and take the winning penalty. I think that he really needed that. I think that was really good for him. And I think that that's going to hopefully help him kick on. I am glad that the players didn't celebrate too extensively after the whistle was blown because they didn't deserve to celebrate. Honestly, they didn't earn it. They squeaked by, and they know they squeaked by. Ten Hag will know that we squeaked by. We can celebrate all we want to as fans. The players need to get to the dressing room. Nobody cheer, nobody smile. Look at yourselves in the mirror. Look at each other. Hold everybody and yourself accountable. Get on the bus. Get home. And really think about the last handful of matches this season. Really think about that final and whether or not you're ready for that. Because today they didn't look it, did they? Let me know your thoughts on that. So let's jump into the roundup while we wrap things up a little bit today. A few little news bits and odds and ends popping up today. So big up Sir Jim for running the London Marathon today and getting to Wembley for this match. Makes me feel a bit lazy, honestly. I mean, there are some days, I'm not going to lie, where I'm like, oh, I mowed the lawn. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. I'll call it a day. We're good. It's like 11 in the morning. I'm like, we're good. I'm tired now. Hell, my grandfather played racquetball until his like late 80s or so, I think. I mean, maybe just an older generation, maybe older generation holding it down. I don't know, but big up Sir Jim for doing that. Big up the older generation for making us all look bad. Big up my grandpa for making me look lazy. But yeah, really good for Sir Jim to do that. I mean, he was running his heart out and he shows up to support his team. So You like to see it, and I think that's the kind of thing we've been. And it's funny, right? It's funny that I'm bigging that up like it's this huge thing, but that's like the bare minimum, right, for an owner. And I know the Glazers, they don't live in the UK, they live in Florida, right? So it's a little harder, but you're rich. You can grab a plane and go to a match now, at least more often than you do. It's cheering, getting happy to see your owner at the match is like bare minimum stuff. Like that shouldn't even have to be a thing. So, but it is cool that he was doing that. So I appreciate that. Did see some news pop up earlier, kind of putting it out there. Could Erik ten Hag walk away from United this summer? There's been a lot of talk about Ten Hag being sacked for one reason or another, but now we're hearing from the Mirror that our manager could actually quit altogether. So Simon Mullock with the Mirror claims that those sources close to Ten Hag, right? Those secretive, reliable sources that we always hear about, according to sources, or ESPN understands or whatever it is. So they're saying that Ten Hag could quit if he isn't given assurances from Sir Jim and Ineos regarding their commitment to him as manager moving forward. Are they going to back him? Are they going to stick with him? Are they going to? Is he always going to kind of be in limbo on the verge of being sacking? He probably wants to know. And ignoring the fact that this is from those sources, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, on its face, it's possible, right? I think I posted it last season that I could easily see Ten Hag quitting United based solely on our recruitment and our transfer structure alone, and how just completely incompetent it is compared to Ajax or a lot of other big clubs. But obviously a lot's changed since then. We've got new ownership and everything, new recruitment staff. So I think that with all these changes, I think he wants to know that, where he stands. New ownership, like I said before, is a fragile time for any manager, and it's not too far-fetched to think Ten Hag will just want to know where he stands, like I said, especially entering the final year of his contract. I think he does have that option for another year, making it 4, but I think with the 1 year hanging over his head, he wants to kind of know what's going on. And if this is true, I could easily understand that. I would want to know too if I were him, especially if we win another trophy. But we'll see. Again, it's coming from the Mirror, and those pesky sources. In other news, United are kind of continuing to rebuild their recruitment structure. So Alan Nixon, or Reluctant Nico on Twitter, has reported this morning that United are speeding up the arrival of Ipswich Town head of recruitment Sam Williams. This one's kind of new, huh? So according to Nixon, the deal has been agreed, and Nixon is set to assume the role of United's new chief of emerging talent as early as next month. So that's good. We have a good track record in recent years with identifying and signing and bringing in these young talents with like Garnacho, Alvaro Fernandez, Amad Diallo, even you could argue. Have a good track record, at least. And we have a lot of good youngsters coming through. And so if we can get another guy who sounds like he's been doing a good job with this switch to come in and do that, I think that could be a plus for us. Obviously, blooding in youth and really promoting the academy product is a big deal at United. It's part of our foundation, it's part of our fiber, our fabric, our lifeblood, and it's part of the tradition upon which this club is built. And I'm very proud of that tradition. We have records for the academy products that have featured in our starting 11 for a century now. So I would love it if we can continue to do that, continue to identify just, the best young talent out there and bring them into the academy and bring them into the first team when they're ready. And it's good to see that we're making that a priority as we do this rebuild as well. So Sam Williams coming in from Ipswich to take over our emerging talent role. Reluctant Nico is also reporting that United will hand youngster Shea Lacey his first team debut before the end of the season. So obviously Lacey, a young little attacker, just I think signed his first professional contract with us. So I think he just turned 19 this past or 17 this past weekend. So I think that he's been training, he's been doing really well. He looks like a good little attacker. I think that it sounds like we might be on the verge of letting him come into the first team before the end of the season. So even Ten Hag's harshest critics can't deny that he's been solid with the youth, right? He brought in Garnacho, who's been excellent. He clearly had Kabi Manu in his plans this summer, and Kabi got injured, so it is what it is. He's trusted Kambwala as well, Willie Kambwala, in his defense. Yes, injuries kind of force his hand a bit, in that regard, but he still made the choice to trust the kid, and he's also played him before we had all these injuries as well. So it's not like his hand was forced, kind of like Louis van Gaal when we lost all those attackers and Rashford came through. So we've seen that Ten Hag can work with the youth. I think Ten Hag likes to work with young players. He can it's kind of like learning a new language. They say it's easier for kids to learn it than for adults, right? I think that's the same with these players. They're learning his system, and I think that we're going to see this generation kind of suiting that style. So I don't have a problem with that. So we'll see what happens. We've had a lot of youngsters on the bench today. We'll probably have more before the end of the season. So it's nice to see. So forget players, forget managers, forget recruitment staff. The clear out and the rebuild needs to start with the medical staff at United. How can so many players struggle to recover from injuries over the years? And it's not just the last 2 seasons. We've seen this for years. You know, Licha, Casemiro, Malacia, Shaw, Aaron Wan-Bissaka had a long-term injury this year. Mason Mount now is out again. You almost have to laugh just to keep yourself from crying. We're all going to look like Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, just randomly laughing for no reason when we think about these injuries. It's just the only way we can keep from just like falling over crying at just how ridiculous and unlucky we've been. I don't have any explanation for it. I'm not a medical professional. I have no idea why everyone is getting injured all the time, why people are struggling to recover, why we're misdiagnosing injuries, why we're not even diagnosing injuries in the first place. Like, what is happening? I heard Mark Goldberg on the United Stand question whether or not some of these players are actually injured or they're just not up for it. They're just kind of embellishing or even faking. You know, I get that's probably a consideration, but I think that when you start to pick and choose which of these players you want to apply that logic to, then your feelings about them or your preferences or which players you actually like versus which ones you don't rate, I think that kind of ruins it. You know, like Camboila's got injured. I mean, do we think Camboila doesn't want to play? Like, so that argument kind of starts to break down a little bit when you dig a little deeper. And so I wouldn't say, I think there are players that don't want to play. I think obviously there are players in football who embellish injuries or even make things up. I think there are. I don't know if I'd be so quick to kind of say that that's the case necessarily. I don't know, but the medical staff has blood on its hands and not from surgery. These guys need to go, like, period. I'm talking complete clear out. Find the best medical staff you can and bring them in. Like, that needs to be priority because we've seen what happens when we have injuries. We don't have good players. We've seen what happens when we get injuries. These players struggle to recover and get fit again. And then, like, Mason Mount came back, played a couple matches as a sub, and now he's injured again. Like, what is happening? People are going to blame Ten Hag for it, say his training. No, it's not true. Ollie said the same thing. These players aren't fit. They can't train. People blame Ten Hag for the fact that Mount's injured. Literally, how can you tell if any player is going to be injured? Let me look up Mounts while we're here live. Why not? We're doing this recording. We can look it up live. I want to look at Mason Mount's injury history. I want to see if he was injured as much at Chelsea as he is at United. So let's look this up. No, I don't want to subscribe. So he picked up a bit of a pelvic issue in his last season at Chelsea that saw him miss 12 matches. So pelvic contusion. So that sounds like a contact issue that didn't quite fully recover. Before that, he didn't have any pelvic issues. A couple of ankle injuries that only saw him miss a few days here and there. Nothing, and he had a hamstring injury, but that was with Derby, and that was with 2018, 2019. So didn't have any calf injuries before United. He had this one calf injury here at United. So one major injury to the calf has seen him miss 21 matches. So he wasn't actually injury prone at Chelsea. He had a single pelvic issue that sounds like he was struggling to recover from that kept him out. And even then, that was only 12 matches for the one season. And before then, he missed 4 matches in the season before that. And Mason Mount's not injury prone. He's just had a bad calf injury since he's joined United. And of course, our medical staff's not fit for purpose. I'm sure if he were still at Chelsea or with any other club who have better people overseeing their players' health and fitness, who knows if he would have taken this long to recover. Who knows if he would still be struggling the way he is? I don't. I'm not saying it either way, but he's not as injury prone as people say. And even if so that's not on Ten Hag. It's not like people are like, oh, look what we bought. We bought an injury prone player. We didn't buy an injury prone player. Any other player has had just as many injuries as that. That's not even a lot of injury. You have to, like, on the same page, there's still stuff from Derby County on there from 2018. So it's not injury prone. It's the fact that our medical staff misdiagnoses, failed to diagnose, or just has no idea what they're doing. So I don't know what is going on. Are there any medical professionals out there? Anybody with the history of, any physios, any former physios, any former players, managers, whoever, who have anything to add to that? Because I have no idea what to say to that. In a bit of fun news, we can end on a bit of fun news today. In a bit of a sarcastic flex, Amad Diallo posted before the match earlier, way this morning. He posted a photo on Snapchat, I think it was, from just outside Wembley Stadium. So if you saw the photo, there's obviously the big banner, about the match, Coventry versus United kickoff. But next to it, there's like this tifo, a tifo of him taking off and holding his jersey from the Liverpool match after he scored, right? So I was following his match winner in that last round. So I got to say, I do like that the fact that the tifo is there in the first place. I love that it kind of is shoving that red card back in the face of John Brooks, the ref who gave him that red card, or that second yellow, sorry. I think that was pretty funny. If you guys saw it, let me know your thoughts, because I thought that was great. They could have picked any other thing to put up there for the tifo when they picked the one thing, and so I do like that a lot. I do appreciate that. It was good to see Amad come in today. I thought he looked pretty decent. Unlucky in some situations, maybe picked the wrong ball, but I mean, he's still young. I do remember reading a few weeks back that that Ten Hag and his coaching staff, they do rate Amad. They say he has a lot of great qualities. I think the thing I read said is that I'm going to close this for a second. There we go. That's better, right? Sun keeps dropping and that light is coming right in the window, and I could see it on the screen there. So they did say that his reading of the game, his match IQ still needed some work, and so I think we did see that a little bit today. There were some opportunities here and there to play a different ball, and he picked the wrong one, and that's going to happen. I wouldn't necessarily call Amad a youngster, because he was already playing some first team at Atlanta when we got him. He's been here for 3 seasons now. He was obviously sent on a loan. I wouldn't consider him a youngster the same way I would consider Kabi Manu or even Garnacho a youngster. He's been around for a minute, and it's going to be interesting summer with Amad Diallo. We know he wants minutes. We know he's frustrated he's not getting minutes, and we've seen him do well when he was on loan at Rangers. We've seen him do well when he was on loan at Sunderland. And so I do think that he's a good player. I think of the wingers that we have, in terms of the kind of ball I think Ten Hag wants to play, I think he suits it to a T. He's good with one touch, give and go. He's good at keeping the ball on the ground. He's got that low center of gravity. I think he gets around the pitch. And he can play a variety of positions across that front line behind the striker. And so I think that there's a really good player in there. I think I would definitely choose him over a few of the other wingers we've been starting, but I'm not Ten Hag. So we'll see. I know there's a lot of people who will like to use Amad as the stick to beat Ten Hag with, and why isn't he playing him? But these same people were the ones who would say, well, there's a reason Donnie's not playing. There's a reason this and that. And so, again, people's preferences, people's agendas pop up when, on their criticisms or their praises. So we'll see. It's anyone's guess as to what's going to happen for the remainder of the season. Obviously, we've got the final in the end of the month, or next month. We've got matches to go in the season. We've got, like I said, Sheffield United this Wednesday. We've got Burnley this weekend. I think, are both these matches at home? Let me see, guys. They are back-to-back home matches. I think that 3 p.m. kickoff on Wednesday. Wow, Champions League settings. I know it's about 8 p.m. for you guys over there. So back-to-back home matches. And we have Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace could be a bit of a banana skin, and then Arsenal right after. So Crystal Palace literally just destroyed West Ham today, doing us a little bit of a favor in terms of keeping West Ham just out of arm's reach. So West Ham We have 2 games in hand over West Ham, who sit 2 points behind us right now with 48 points, and they're in 8th place, and we're in 7th with 50. We're tied in points with Newcastle, but Newcastle have a way better GD than we do. So Newcastle, we're going to have to drop points. So we're going to have to hopefully get 6 points from these next 2 matches. Otherwise, I think that's it for the season. I really don't see us pulling anything out against Crystal Palace. Obviously, we lost to them earlier this season. I was at that match. It was just not a good match. Not a good match at all. I think we had to play Amrabat at left back in that match. It just didn't go very well. And then Arsenal, obviously, who are in really good form. They're sitting top of the league right now. They're tied in points with Liverpool. They have played one more match than City. City will probably win their next match and jump ahead of them. So it's a tight race for the league right now between City, Arsenal, and Liverpool. I do probably think City will win. So we need to do something against Sheffield United and against Burnley, though I think that we have zero margin for error. The rest of the matches could go either way. Crystal Palace, Arsenal, Newcastle, Brighton, and then that Newcastle match was rescheduled, so it's a little tight. So it's interesting. I'm not going to keep rehashing the remaining matches of the season. It's going to be kind of a take it as you go and just try to get as many points as we can. And we're going to have to hope that West Ham don't catch up to us. We're going to have to hope that, Newcastle drops some points. And that's going to be a big 6-pointer between us and Newcastle in the penultimate match of the season. I love anytime I get to use the word penultimate. I feel like it makes me sound smart. Whether it actually does is up for debate. Jury's out, but I like saying it. It's a big word. It sounds cool. And, whatever makes me feel smart, I'm going to take it. So that's going to do it for me today. I will keep an eye on the bits and pieces, the odds and ends, the rumors, the stories, the developments, and the transfer talk tonight and tomorrow morning, and then probably jump back on tomorrow to share my thoughts and share the roundup for tomorrow. Probably going to do a little bit of a preview for the Sheffield United match on Tuesday, so keep a lookout for that. Thank you all for joining me. I know we didn't have any live chat today. That's okay. I know there's probably a lot of lives going on right now, and we are still a small channel, but we are steadily growing, I like to say. So if any little bit helps, don't forget to hit the like button today if you like what you saw. If you're coming back after the live stream ends, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's match, the results, your thoughts on some of the roundup. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new, please. It really does help, and it really makes me feel good inside when I see that. I like it. It gives me a little swell of pride, a little smile. So I do like to see that. And then go check me out on Twitter, MUFC versus everybody, where I share a lot of my thoughts. I don't always do a lot of live tweeting when I'm someplace watching it, like Loaded Dice, big up Loaded Dice, just because I'm zoned in on the match. I'm talking to people. I'm like, there's like a collective emotional roller coaster going on. You're all part of it. It's like almost like this hive mentality and emotional connection. It's difficult to tear away from that in the moment. So you won't get too many of those for me while I'm at a match, but I'm at home watching it. I'm usually pretty vocal, so keep an eye out. As always, I'm Sean. Thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Take it easy.